Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down some pretty big ideas.
Okay, let's dive right in. You know the universe that we see, our planets, the sun, the moon? Well, according to Buddhist teachings, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. The idea here is that our familiar world is just one tiny neighborhood in a vast, interconnected reality.
And this leads to a pretty wild question. But look, this isn't some new age sci-fi concept. We're talking about a central idea in Buddhist philosophy, something people have been contemplating for thousands of years. The idea that your existence isn't a single story, but a long, wandering journey through all these different worlds.
So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to need a different kind of map. Not one that charts stars and galaxies, but one that charts states of being.
So, ancient texts, they paint this absolutely incredible picture. They describe our world as just one of several, and each one has its own unique vibe. Like, imagine a world where there's a wishing tree that just gives people everything they need and they live for 1,000 years. The whole point is that what we think of as reality is just one of many, many possibilities.
Now here's where it gets really fascinating. This map lays out 31 distinct planes of existence, where a being can be reborn. But here's the key. You gotta think of these less like physical planets and more like states of being. The realms literally shaped by the quality of our own consciousness and our past actions, our karma.
Okay, so these 31 planes, they're not just a random jumble. They're grouped into 3 major realms. Way up at the top, you've got the Arupaloka, the formless realm. Think pure consciousness. Below that is the Rupaloka, a realm of fine, subtle form. And then there's our neck of the woods, the Kamaloka, the realm of desire. This is where we humans are, along with all the blissful heavens and, you guessed it, the painful lower realms.
Yeah, some of these planes are basically heavens, total bliss. In what are called the Deva realms, for instance, life is unbelievably long and pleasant. Beings there get to experience all the pleasures of Earth, but with none of the work. The catch, though, is that this very pleasure can become a huge distraction from any kind of real spiritual progress.
But of course, there's a flip side. On the complete other end of the spectrum, you have these dark, painful hell realms. And the suffering there is just as intense and just as long-lasting as the pleasure is in the heavens. A being stays there, experiencing the consequences of their actions until that negative karmic force is all used up.
So the big question is, what decides where you end up? Heaven, hell, somewhere in between? Well, this journey isn't random at all. It's powered by a process called samsara.
So what is samsara? Think of it as this constant, endless wandering. The texts say it has no conceivable beginning, just on and on and on. We're constantly being propelled from one life to the next, from one realm to another, in a cycle that's fundamentally marked by this underlying sense of dissatisfaction and suffering, or dukkha.
Okay, so what keeps this giant wheel spinning? This is the really crucial part. The engine is fueled by forces that are inside us. It all kicks off with ignorance, basically not getting how reality truly works. This leads to craving, that constant wanting, that desire for pleasure and for things to last forever. And finally, that craving is what drives our intentional actions, our karma.
And this is just a brilliant way to think about karma. It's not about some cosmic judge in the sky keeping a scorecard, handing out rewards and punishments. It's much more like a natural law, like gravity. Our intentional actions, what we do, what we say, even what we think, that's the cause. Our future existence, that's the effect. In a very real sense, we are the authors of our own fortune.
But hold on, this isn't just a story about being trapped forever. It's not a closed loop. Within this endless cycle, this vast cosmic maze, there is an exit ramp, and it's found in a very specific place.
Out of all those 31 planes, the human realm is considered uniquely precious. And why is that? Well, you could call it the Goldilocks zone. Unlike the heavenly beings who are too distracted by pleasure, or those in the hell realms who are completely overwhelmed by pain, humans experience the perfect balance. We have just enough suffering to motivate us to seek a way out, and just enough freedom to actually find it.
The Buddha used this really powerful analogy to stress just how incredibly rare this opportunity is. Imagine a single wooden yoke floating on a vast ocean, and a blind sea turtle that only surfaces once every 100 years. The chances of that turtle putting its head through the tiny hole in that yoke are minuscule. Obtaining a human birth, he said, is just as rare.
So how do we actually find that exit ramp? Well, the path involves transforming our own minds. It's about shifting from our normal state, that constant push-pull of our desires and frustrations, to a state of deep inner stillness. And this kind of freedom is found through practices like meditation.
And this path can actually be profoundly joyful. As one teacher describes it, through practices like mindfulness of breathing, the mind can become so content that it doesn't want to wander. It's like watching the Cheshire Cat disappear until only its smile is left. The object of meditation fades away, but that beautiful feeling of peace remains. And that is the first step toward true insight.
So this entire cosmic journey, through all 31 planes, through countless lifetimes, it all points toward one ultimate destination, one final release.
And that destination is nirvana. Now, it's really important to get this right. Nirvana isn't another heaven or some physical place you go to. It's the final extinguishment of the fires of greed, hatred, and ignorance that fuel this whole cycle of rebirth. It's the complete end of suffering itself, realized through direct insight.
And that brings this entire cosmic scale right back down to this very moment. This quote perfectly captures the practical heart of this whole teaching. The huge map of 31 planes and the endless cycle of samsara, it all hinges on what we choose to do right now. Our present actions are literally planting the seeds for our future.
So that's really the key takeaway. In this vast cosmic framework, we are not just passive travelers. Every single moment, every intention, and every action is an opportunity to choose our path, to continue wandering, or to take that rare and precious opportunity to find the way out.